Hey y'all, and welcome back to another video of My Creative Life with Kelssweetie, where we read books and we make art. Today we are talking about the mid-year book tag. This has been going around everywhere. I've been meaning to get to this, but I wanted to wait until June was over so I could get in actual books from my mid-year. Also, this is kind of going to serve as my Q2 recap. If you remember, earlier this year I did a Q1 recap. I was surprised that I even got one out because usually I don't read enough to even do a Q1 recap or put out enough content for that. As of late though, I've been doing it. I've been on it. I've been surprised. And so I have enough for a Q2 recap. I am very interested with the things that I found, and I have some thoughts as well as some reflections with where we are halfway through the year. What a year it's been so far. I have no clue what to expect from this second half. So let's get into the intro and into these questions. As I mentioned in the intro, I have been busy and not busy. It's been strange. I feel like every single time I come to y'all with a reading wrap up from the month, I'm like, it was an interesting month. And that's because near the beginning of every single month so far of Q2, I'm thinking April, May, every single month, I've gone, guys, didn't want to read that first week of the month. That second week of the month was a little slow. Last 2 weeks, killed it. Basically read my entire quota for the month. I've sat here, May, sat there and I read 5 books in a week. June was no different. I knocked out 5 books, 4 or 5 books within a week. I think April, I did something similar, but I don't know, y'all. It may be like this, I'm working in circles type of thing because I'm in an effort to finish books. I may be sitting here and having a great time. Like, I'm not forcing myself per se to read in these last 2 weeks of the month to catch up. But in doing so, maybe I am burning myself out for that first month or so. Also, it seems that, current events of the world seem to keep on happening that first month, that first week or so of the month. And then I have the rest of the month to try and get my brain back together to even have the capacity to read. I don't know. It could be both of those things working. Regardless, it has somehow kept me on track for my reading goal for the end of the year, which is 65 books. Right now, I'm at 36 books. As we were speaking, it is July 7th. I am at 36 books, which is insane because I have like 29 books to go. So I'm halfway through the year. I'm according to Goodreads, which I still use because I do like their tracker. They like keep me on point. I have like 29, I'm like 55%, 3 books ahead. So, and I'm a part of the Tarot Readathon right now. I'm hoping to really pick it up regarding that. So I'm not going to get my hopes up, and I'm not changing my reading goal for the year because with holidays and stuff like that that's going to be coming up soon, I know my reading will probably go down. I don't know though. Who knows what to expect anymore? Let's get into these questions for this tag. This tag was originally made by 2 wonderful people. We always talk about them during these tags because this has been happening for who knows how many years now, and it's only right and respectful to give them their just due. So they're tagged down below in the description if you want to go check them out. I know that one of them still makes quite a few videos. I think that the other doesn't necessarily anymore, but don't clock me on that. That's down in the description. First question, best book of 2025. Hands down, Chain Gang All-Stars. I've read a lot of great stuff this year, and we'll get into why that probably is in a second. But Chain Gang All-Stars rearranged my brain chemistry. Basically, any book that I've read this year, if it is great, I automatically go, is it great? Is it giving the same thing Chain Gang All-Stars gave me? And if the answer is yes, then I'm like, you had a great time reading this book. That's a 5-star book. That's been the litmus test in regards to whether or not something gets 5 stars or not, is if it gave me the same feeling as Chain Gang All-Stars gave for me. Best book of 2025, just hands down. I still recommend it nonstop to people. I understand why people recommend it nonstop, but as I've said when I covered that book before 5 million other times, I think the reason that book is talked about so much, the real reason that makes that book so great is not talked about enough. And that has to do with the way that they came about talking about these issues that are very real within the prison industrial complex and modern day slavery and adjusting them to the idea of this dystopian future fictional world in a very real way. And I think the only other book that I've read so far this year that's really done something like that again was The Devil in Silver, which also was amazing. But again, the litmus test for me of enjoying and loving that book was comparing it to Chain Gang All Stars. So that's been the best book of 2025. I would have to read something that makes me sob. It makes like nearly, I mean, just absolutely sob, because I've read some books this year so far that have torn my heart out, and we'll get into them. But it would have to just make me break down for me to knock it out of that spot, because that book still, it sits with me all the time. I'm constantly always thinking about it and how it relates to everything that is going on. Period. Next question. New release you want to still read. So these are books that have just recently come out, because I'm specifying because there's another question further on the next question that may sound like the same question. It's not. So new releases that you still have to read that have already come out this year. One, Shy Girl. So I have to still read and finish Sugar by Mia Ballard. And after I finish it, I swear I'm going to read Shy Girl by Mia Ballard. I want to be a Mia Ballard girl with the rest of them, all right? However, she has no audiobooks. And it's killing me because I'm just kind of like, dude, I can't read your books. I can't work and read your books. And when I try to, I have to sit down and read them. I got like maybe a third of the way through Sugar, was loving it, but I had to like nix it because I was moving into a new month. I'm hoping that maybe sometime during this readathon, I can finish Sugar, or I'll have some time to just walk around and read a physical novel. I've not been able to, just because I've been too busy or haven't been able to just read books with my eyes as of late. So I have been able to get into them, which is upsetting because I'm sick and tired of being out of the loop, and I want something gross and amazing and fantastic, just like all the rest of the girls are saying that Mia Ballard is. So Shy Girl is my top one. Shy Girl and the Buffalo Hunter Hunter, which is surprising because Stephen Graham Jones has not been a home run for me. As y'all know, I have tried twice now to try and get into Stephen Graham Jones, both with I Was a Teenage Slasher and with Night of the Living Mannequins. Is that what it is? I think that's what it is. Neither one were a home run for me. I do feel like I Was a Teenage Slasher was getting somewhere. It was nearing it. Considering this one does not have to do necessarily with teenagers, I'm thinking maybe that's where he'll get me, because I think that I'm just not into his teenage tropes and stuff like that. Okay, this is the next question that I was like, oh, it sounds similar to the last question. Most anticipated release for the second half of 2025. So first and foremost is We Love You, Bunny by Mona Awad. I, like everybody else, really want to get my hands on that book and finally read it. Did I love Bunny? Yeah, it was cool. Do I really want to read this one because I feel like it's going to be a bit more murderous and crazy, which is crazy thinking about like the plot of Bunny. When you think about three Heathers basically going at with an axe these men that they've created out of bunnies. But I have a feeling that from other people who have read ARCs, which I'm hurt that I didn't get one, but it's fine. That it's somehow more messed up. I don't know. You know what's more messed up though? That cover. That cover is maddening. And I know that we've talked about it a lot in the Bookstagram, BookTube type of sphere, but it deserved a better cover, to be honest. I hope that when they reprint, they really do something different. But I know for a fact that the author requested that cover, that type of cover. So that is what it is. My second book, which is surprising, it's coming out very, very soon at the end of July. It's not a fiction, it's a nonfiction, and it's The Conjuring of America. Is that what it's called? Yeah, The Conjuring of America. It has to do with the history of hoodoo women and conjure, building America, building the structure and society and the history of America and all of that. And also has to do with mermaids. It has to do with a lot that I'm into. I'm very excited for it. I know it's nonfiction. Am I known for reading nonfiction? Absolutely not. Will I read that? Yes, certainly so. So I kind of need to maybe put in a pre-order for it because I'm very excited for that. I thought that it already came out because a lot of people have been talking about it. It's not. End of this month. So there you go. Those are my two releases that I'm looking forward to for the second half of 2025. Biggest disappointment, Come Closer by Sarah Grant. Y'all are recommending that book left and right, and it's not a good book. And I'm saying it with my chest. It's not a good book. It was a waste of time. I read that entire book hoping that it was gonna get better, hoping that it was just like, oh, maybe I just need to get to the end and it'll all make sense. It didn't. I started reading it on 2 times speed. I never read it in 2 times speed. It wasn't good. Y'all are always recommending. I see so many book lists of that book, and I'm just like, why now? I thought I needed to read this book, and now I'm like, no. It takes everything in me to not tell somebody when they do book recommendations. I'm just like, why do you keep recommending this book? Tell me what I missed. What did you love about it? Because there's like slurs in there. There's racist under thing, like, I don't like it. I didn't like it one bit. It was disappointment. It angered me. Another one was The Cabin at the End of the World. I don't think that I put it as my first disappointment because I kind of should have known. I just don't like Paul Tremblay's work. I've tried, like, I think two other times before this novel, and it just doesn't work for me. And it's not the plot, because the plot, like the Paul Bearers Club, love the plot, love the idea, love the execution of, like, how you guys did the interior and all of that. His characters just suck. They suck. Their motivations suck. They're not even real motivations. They're just like, you're a crappy person, and it doesn't even make sense. And it makes me wonder, Paul, are you a crappy person? Because why do you keep on writing horribly moral people? Like, not even like an interesting horrible moral type of situation, like, "Oh, you're kinda dark, but I guess I get where you're coming from," or "You're kinda evil, but I kind of understand." But just like, you're making bad decisions, and you're selfish, just very selfish. It upsets me every single time, and because of this selfishness, they make decisions that ultimately end up killing them or harming themselves or other people, and it's not said in a way like, "Oh, and this is supposed to be like you realizing like these are bad decisions or something." No, it's just like bad character development. I don't know. I really could not stand that book, and I think that was a nail in the coffin on me reading any more Paul Tremblay. I know that everybody's like, "Head full of ghosts, read Head full of ghosts." Sorry. You've burned me enough. There's too many other stories out there for me to be reading. I've tried too many times now with Paul Tremblay. It just it's a no for me, dog. It's just not gonna work. Along with that question, this isn't in any of the actual lineup of the tag, but I felt like this should probably be like a twofer in this, because this year I really recognized the power of the DNF. And I'm so proud of myself for that, because I could have been I think that's the reason why I've read so many books, is I really start to realize especially once an ick happens, I'm out of there. No matter how far I'm in. Usually, maybe I'll give it to around 25%. That's as far as I can go with something that has really not caught me. And if I get 50% in and I'm like, this isn't going to do it for me, I have found the power of saying, and that's okay. You can DNF that. So, in honor of that, I do have a stack of physical books that I've had to DNF this year. Is it more than I would like? Yeah. Yeah, it is. But it's not as many as maybe there could be. So I'm gonna look at it glass half full on that. First, Sucker. I no. This is 1% fiction. Like, the situations that were coming up, the way that the main character was speaking, it has to do with private cancer research and cures for cancer that are only available to the 1%. These issues that the main character is going through is trust fund baby issues. I couldn't get into it, and I couldn't care less about our main character and what happened to him, because in all honesty, he sucked. He sucked, and not even like bad morals necessarily. It was just like, dude, you're one of those guys who are probably at some LA bar somewhere talking up your daddy's money. And so I really couldn't care less. This hurt though, because I loved this cover. So let's give it up one last time for the cover for this. Okay, that was enough. Thank you very much. This one was a very difficult one to DNF, but I just couldn't get into it, and it's a me problem, and that's The Year of the Witching by Alexis Henderson. I'm upset because I bought this one new. I read House of Hunger last month. Actually liked it. That'll be coming up in a reading wrap up soon. But that one was thrifted. And then I bought this one, and this is the one I did not like. And the reason why is truly a me problem. I have realized I can't stand Puritan witch stories. I can't get into it. Now, I just mentioned, hey, I'm looking forward to reading The Conjuring of America and all this other stuff. Hoodoo, you got me. Let's get into it. Some hoodoo, some conjuring, all of that. Love it. We need more of it. Puritan witches, boring. And I think it has to do with a historical problem where I'm just like, all of y'all, like, you're talking about the very beginnings of whitewashed evangelism within America, land freshly stolen from indigenous folks. I couldn't care less about what problems you're dealing with regarding the church, which in theory you're like, well, if you're against like what that all has to do with, you should love this. In theory, yeah, I should, because witches are basically fighting all of those things. However, most cases, the book starts off with them being a part of that society and being at odds and having these struggles within it and blah, 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 blah. And to be honest, and the characters themselves are Puritan, so I just don't like the time period. I've found that it doesn't even have to do with the magic necessarily. I'm just not a fan of the time period. I'm not a fan of how people are conversing during this time period. I can't find it interesting whatsoever. I have no skin in the game when I read it. So even with this one, I just kind of I was like, I don't care. I don't care. And the thing is it starts where she's not necessarily a witch. And this is the same thing that happened with Slewfoot, which I think I DNF'd as well. That should be in this list and this lineup as well. But it really had to do with the fact that it's not like straight out the gate, usually with these stories, they're a witch. It's kind of like, okay, we're moving through things, we're experiencing a lot, we hate the church because of what they're persecuting against us. All right, would you like to live deliciously? We're there. And it's like, before we get there, I don't care about it. So I think I got about 15% into this and I realized, dude, it's not for you. So unfortunately, I had to DNF this one. Highly Suspicious and Unfairly Cute by Talia Hibbert. I really did want to like this one because I love her Chloe sister, the Brown Sisters series that Talia Hibbert came out with. I'm not a romance girl, but those books are great. I loved those, and I really love how she represents one, larger women, plus size, mid-sized women within her novels and how she speaks about them, but also she loves a bisexual. She loves a bisexual character. And I was really looking forward to reading this. However, this is an actual YA novel. So like the Brown sister novels they're romance, but they're like they're like YA, but like I forget what they're calling like the midpoint between young adult and adult novels now. But it's more so like that type of thing where it's like, nah, that's an adult novel. It was kids. It was completely has to do with kids, and some of the dialogue that was happening just felt extremely childish and not even in a, okay, let me just get in the mindset type of way, and the romance or whatever is good enough for me to keep reading this. Nah, I wasn't feeling it whatsoever. And it was even kind of harder to get into it because I feel like, and I've heard other people say this, I hate this though, there was a British accent, and I think that Americans, which I hate this, have been trained that when we hear a British accent, we think Bridgerton, or we think High Court, or we think of Pride and Prejudice and everything. It's because of the culture that we've been like access to for a majority of our lives, and probably some sort of nationalism underlying all of that from years of whatever. And I think that I couldn't really get past that if I especially wasn't into the story of these kids and what they're experiencing and all that other stuff. So I ended up DNFing it. I didn't get very far into it, but I also was just on a roll. And I say that I was on a roll because, and this should be down here as well, I DNF'd Brood with Love, which I was heartbroken about because that was one of the first Macs that I ever worked on within the book cover industry, period. And I bought it because I wanted it, because I love that cover, and two, it was something memorable. I'm going to be keeping it in my collection more so as a memory, but it sucks because I DNF'd that one as well because it just felt too childish. It was a YA novel, and the main character, the things that she was saying and what she was trying to get one of the other romantic interests in trouble for were out of line. Just absolutely out of line, especially for a woman of color. So I did really appreciate that. I couldn't really get once I kind of got icked out by that, I couldn't get into it, especially considering it was already a YA. So that got DNF'd as well. And finally, The Joy Luck Club by Amy Tan. I think that this is definitely a product of the time that it was written. It was written in the 80s. It reads like it was written in the 80s. There's a lot of just haphazardness in regards to touching on certain topics. I've talked about it in the May wrap up that I just did, so you can go over there and check out in depth what I kind of talk about in regards to this. But she just handled some similes and comparisons and stuff in a way that felt kind of underlyingly racist, in my opinion. And although it may be culturally significant, especially considering the time that this was written, it just did not sit well with me to continue reading because by the time I had gotten at it, again, I was out of the story. I couldn't care less, you know? And finally, this was another huge disappointment. I wish I would have. This actually should have been along with Come Closer and The Cabin at the End of the World. Trinity. Horrible disappointment. I should have DNF'd this. This should have been a DNF. I still don't understand what Kobayashi was trying to get at in regards to radium and this sickness, and there's this weird digital incest situation that happens in the book. I'm still lost on where it was going, and I'm upset about that because I do feel like very interesting points were brought up about the Olympics, about nationalism, about radium, about all of these different things. But she never gets there. She just kind of throws a bunch of facts at you, puts in a bunch of weird plot points, and then all of a sudden at the end goes, "It's over. Hope you got something from that." And that still upsets me because I think that I kept continuing in this book because she kept making or providing facts that were interesting and points that I wanted to work through, but she never works through them in the novel. So it made the whole novel feel unnecessary. Like it didn't bring up anything. And I think that other people have mentioned before once I started reading the reviews, because I try to go on everything without reading a lot of the reviews, that they felt the same, that she just has this obsession with all of this history regarding radium and all these other things. But as far as actually writing a story, she did not do that here. And that was a huge disappointment as well. Okay, now that we've got all the negative stuff out of the way, the next question is, what was your biggest surprise? Hands down, Dungeon Crawler Carl. I can never say that name. That was the hugest surprise. I was surprised at how much I loved that book. I was surprised by the fact that it was interesting, that I picked up the sequel. I am not a sequel reader. I literally removed the sequel question in this tag because I don't read sequels. But I picked that one up quickly. Will I get to it this year? Let's not get crazy. But is it now like my slumpy book? Like, oh, you're in a slump. Read some Dungeon Crawler Carl. Yeah, absolutely now. It was hilarious. It was funny. They're long books, and somehow I enjoyed myself. Are they at all like smart? No. Are they written smart though? Absolutely. And I think that it's definitely a dark comedy that I recommend to a lot of people who are into horror and are looking for something that's fun. I'm still surprised that I love that book. I cannot recommend enough to everybody that if you are getting into it, start off with the immersive audio tunnel. That's what they call it. Then rather than just the audiobook, because it is so much better and it's so interesting and I absolutely loved it. I wish that they would do it for all of the books, to be honest, because it has commercial breaks and all this. It just felt like you were in it. And I was always looking forward to sitting down and listening to the immersive tunnel. I wish that they had it's self-funded. So it's, by the actual audiobook actor. And so I think that's the reason why we don't have more of them. I'm hoping they re-released a reprint of all the covers, and that's really why it took off, is because the reprint of these covers took it out of here, because these originally came out with like indie type of covers that, to be honest, weren't that great. And now with these new covers, everybody wants them because they're gorgeous covers. I'm hoping that with more of its success, they actually pay like the publisher actually pays that guy to do 5 million more like immersive tunnels for all of them, because they deserve all of them. are amazing. So that was my biggest surprise of the year by far. Favorite new author, there's so many because again, I try and pick up new books all the time. I'm not really a serial reader like when it comes to authors that much. I have to absolutely love an author to really read a ton of their work. But I will say that Monica Kim is a author that I'm definitely looking out for. She had her debut this year with The Eyes Are the Best Part, which I still think about constantly. I think about that book all the time. I think that there are certain things of that book that some people just didn't get, which didn't make it as humongous. Like, I think some people were a little bit let down by it, and I think that that has to do more so with what I got out of it regarding misogyny and generational misogyny and the fact that misogyny hurts everyone. Toxic masculinity is a problem amongst everyone, but especially amongst Gen X versus millennials or Gen Z. I just absolutely love that novel, and I'm really looking forward to her next novel that she puts out. It just really was great, and I think she's my favorite new author just because I keep on thinking of that book, but there's so many other novels that I've read this year that were like, of course, the author of Chain Gang All-Stars, but to be honest, like, I'm really looking forward to seeing more of her work. A book that made you cry. Now, I've already said Chain Gang All-Stars 5 million times during this video. Chain Gang All-Stars made me cry. I'm not gonna lie. So I did add 2 other books to this because I didn't just want to say Chain Gang All-Stars again. Recently, Portal Mania. I read Portal Mania and it was frustrating. And I don't think it made me cry. I kind of took this one as if it made you feel something entirely, like just overwhelming emotion, then I put this on the list. Portal Mania did that for me. It feels like the most relevant book that I've read this year, probably in regards to what we are experiencing in politics, what we're experiencing in America. It just felt completely and utterly appropriate for this time. And I think reading some of these stories upset me, it angered me, it frustrated me in ways that I needed to even take a break. Like I had to take a day off from after reading one of the stories in there. And I recommend it entirely. I'm going to be putting out a review soon about it because I just don't feel like I've heard anybody talking about it. And it's amazing. I cannot recommend that book enough. Another one was Reservoir Bitches, which I think more and more people are starting to read. But I had to read that for a book club back in March, I wanna say it was in March, and when I finished, I had to take some days off. It was just it's short stories, it's 13 short stories, but they're written so there's so much emotion inside of them, and you're learning so much and hearing so much about these women in Mexico and their experiences across the board and how they all intertwine with one another and how there's this underlying sense of just pure survival within them. And it was just rough to kind of listen to and read about because the experience itself is just like I don't know what I would do in those situations. Or how did you get to that point? Or why did you get to that point? Or what led you there? And we hear all of that in those stories. And again, they're only like 4 or 5, 6 pages long, and you're getting so much out of it. So again, I had to like take some breaks every now and then through some of those readings, but I absolutely loved it. And it's top 5 of the year probably for me. Okay, book that made you happy. So I already said Dungeon Crawler Carl on this list. Probably will say the book 5 million other times during this video. But I will say The Dead Take the A Train by Cassandra Caw. That definitely was one that made me happy. I enjoyed it so much. I think the fact that it felt like a Constantine movie, but from the perspective of a character that so interesting. Like she was bisexual, of course, but she was also Asian. She also had no filters. She also was fun. She was in love with her best friend. She's going through all of these things, and these romantic portions that have you kicking your feet are happening. But then also, a couple pages down, we're pulling out entrails. We're exercising demons. And these demons are very, like I said, Constantine-like, where it's just like they're not holier than thou. They're very much like have personalities, and I love that. I love when we're reading about supernatural beings or ghosts or whatever, and they're not this like gothic, I'm holier than thou, better than you, and all knowing types. Like they're just like, no, I just became this or I am this, but I'm no better as a personality than a human, I think it really makes it feel that much more believable and realistic, to be honest, and I had so much fun reading, The Does Take the A Train. I recommend that all the time. I think I wouldn't have picked it up considering the size, had I not found it at a thrift store and everything, and I'm really glad that I read it. Now, it's a duology, so I have to pick up the next book, which I'm not happy about because I'm constantly trying to avoid series, and now this year alone, I've gotten sucked into 2. So it is what it is, but that book definitely made me happy to read while I was going through it and everything, and I'll constantly recommending it to people. So the next question is most beautiful book you've bought or received this year. And I have 2. One, and they're both getting read in September. September, that's when supposedly I may pull a card during the tarot readathon and move up the list. But first and foremost is, and this one may not seem beautiful to some, but for me, I feel like it definitely was, is Pedro and Marcus Take Stock. This cover, I bought it for the cover. I've heard nothing about this book whatsoever, and I still haven't. No one I've heard has said anything about it. I'm hoping that it's great so I can have this on my bookshelf. But I just loved the illustrations that they had in this book. They're just this is wonderful. The spine is gorgeous, and even the back of it, like this little butter type of thing up here at the top. No, it's a T. It's a T thing. So yeah, this T thing, like box at the top and everything. I love it. I absolutely am in love with this cover and this jacket. And I know that this isn't like when somebody thinks of beautiful, they're like foils and spray. And no, it's this. It's this wonderful illustration of a jacket. So that's first. But something that I think is more traditional when people think of like a beautiful cover would probably be Woodworm. I picked up this hardcover, which I'm so glad that I found the hardcover. I've seen, other ones and they're cool, they're fine. But this, it's this cloth bound hardcover, which is just no one does that anymore. Especially not for like, this is a short novel. This is not a big novel, and it's not even that it's like, oh, top in the world or anything like that. And they did this wonderful printing, and even like these end covers are gorgeous. So let me show you this cover. Now picture this with a foil. Love it. But right now that's just screen printing on this cloth bound type of cover, and it kind of gives like storybook with how it was bound. The inside end covers are these sketched type of portions of the home that they're in, and it's like the first sketch is what the house is supposed to look like, and then the second sketch when you turn the page is, I'm guessing, what happens when everything goes basically to shit in the story, because it's kind of like a haunted house type of situation, which I really, really am in love with that. So it's a short story. I may end up reading it this month. I really do want to get to this book already. I've been saving it for September. I have a lot of books for September for Latino Heritage Month. So, and I don't think that that's gonna die down anytime soon. But those are definitely, I would consider, 2 of my favorite beautiful covers this year. I think also Harriet Tubman. What is that called? I'm like sitting here and I'm like near like 2 other books that I'm like, oh, these are gorgeous covers too. Harriet Tubman Live in Concert. Again, it's not beautiful in traditional sense, but I thought this was a fiction. I thought this was a memoir. It's a fiction. But it's just clean. Like, this is like a very fun cover without needing to do what this cover does. Like, this, I get excited for both of these covers, and they're completely different. They're completely different. So I love that. And finally, this is the last one. This I picked up recently. It's Polybius, which I'm hoping to read soon. Still love this cover. I just love the ink choices they chose on this, the glowing inside of here. What I'd love even more if they were to take this screen and foil it somehow. I would that it probably wasn't in the budget for this book. But I truly, truly love this cover as well. When y'all say like beautiful cover, y'all, I'm not hyping up a foil. Just a foil. Like it's gotta be like illustrated. It's gotta be interesting. All right. The next question on here is one that I've kind of already talked about, but I'll just kind of briefly touch on it, and that's what needs to be read. So I know what they meant by this. They meant what on your TBR still needs to be read, or what do you need to get to before the end of the year. Here's the thing. I treat all my babies the same. Everybody on that TBR needs to be read. All right. So I'm not gonna address that. I'm not gonna address that. Instead, I'm going to recognize, again, save some space for the fact that I have only 29 books left to go before the end of the year. That's how many I need to read in order to hit my 65 book goal. I'm trying not to jinx it because I realized that today, like right before I started filming, that's crazy that I only have 29 books to go. That's insane because I'm already, like, it's July, the first week of July, and I'm already 36, nearing 37 books already. So to think that, like, you can hit that and you can go over it is insane because when I first started this channel, God, 2 years ago now, that's wild. Nearly 2 years ago, I had read only 32 books that year. And now I'm trying for 65. I'm past the 32 books that I read that year. And we're halfway through the year. Last year I read 52 books, which is still insane. And when I pass that, because I didn't do it last year. I was upset that I didn't do it last year. I want to do like my one word review for all the books that I read that year. Again, I think that it's a combination of many different things that have me like reading more and more. And now I can see why all of a sudden one day you have these booktubers who are just like, yeah, I've read 300 books this year. And you're like, you mean a book a day? You read a book a day? How long are the books? So I can see that now because depending on how the end of this year goes, I can see myself not next year, but maybe year after next, closing in on trying to do 100 books. That's crazy. I never thought that I could be somebody who read that much. And not in a way of like, do you like reading? But just in the conversation of like having time, being able to just do that. I don't think that I ever thought that I could get back into reading like that. And it's insane and amazing that that I rediscovered this hobby and that I'm sitting here and I'm growing it so much and that I only have 29 books to go to get to my goal. I'm trying not to harp too much on it because I don't want to get like complacent and go, you can take your time. You only got 29 books to go. You got 6 months, you know? And all of a sudden it's like November and I'm like, okay, I've got to read 10 books this week. So I'm trying not to worry too much about that, but it is insane to realize that. And I'm just really, I'm just really excited and happy about it. So uh, that's how I'm approaching that question. Favorite horror so far this year. So I read horror nonstop. So this is gonna be pretty easy for the most part. But Bury Your Gaze, I'm going to nominate as like my favorite horror this year. I know that I've read plenty of other things that could be considered horror and that I loved more or anything like that, but I feel like Bury Your Gaze deserves a moment. I absolutely understand the Chuck Tingle like phenomenon. Like I now have to read for sure have to read Camp Damascus. I didn't start with that one because I was concerned that it may be too dark and like heart-wrenching, and it was during June. I was already reading a lot of darker stuff. I needed something light, but I felt like Bury My Gaze was such a great horror that it was fun, it was bloody, it was all these different things while still having a very nuanced character base. Like, I loved all the characters. Even the minor ones, they didn't feel like they were minor whatsoever. You really felt like you knew his friends. They did not feel like stereotypes. I love that because I feel like a lot of, I don't want to say a lot, but especially fun. I'm not gonna like stuff that's not like, oh, this is horror and it's gonna be horrific. But like things that are like, oh, this is kind of fun. Like you want to read this type of thing. And it has to do with like the queer community, queer folks. I feel like sometimes ends up in a stereotype. Some of the characters end up getting stereotyped. And I didn't feel like this book did that whatsoever. I felt like all the characters, them being queer was such a huge part of their identity, but it wasn't a monolith whatsoever. I think it also was a very fun and amazing way to attack, go through a conversation that I think is happening a lot in books right now, which is AI and how it's going to take over and kill us all. And I think that Chuck Tinkle's approach to it was very fun and something fresh. I think it wasn't something that I had heard before, and it wasn't convoluted. I appreciated that. And I think, this book constantly is getting recommended, and I get why now. I've got to read Camp Damascus now and be ruined. My favorite literary fiction, my favorite lit fic. So these are considered horror. Well, one of them is. They could be considered sci-fi. For me, I'm saying they're in the lit fic kind of section for me, considering I read basically speculative fiction all year. I love the term speculative fiction. It just really describes everything I read instead of getting in the weeds. And so I'm including this in the lit fic category. First and foremost, Red X. Red X blew me out the water. It was heartbreaking and wonderful, and did the same thing that Chain Gang All Stars honestly did, which is taking a fictional genre and taking real facts and putting them into the book so that you could really learn things as you're reading this fictional story that is based on real life events. It's based on true facts. And it was wonderful. It was heartbreaking. It was horrible. It was linear. It moved through time as these people, as the men in Toronto's gay village are literally being attacked by a monster. And listening to the audiobook, top tier. Top tier. On the book, they're talking about the audiobook, and when a book is like, "Oh, by the way, there's an audiobook to this." That y'all got a full cast and that it's amazing. And it was. It was an experience. I absolutely loved it. It was amazing. I think so many people should read Red X. I know that I'm probably late to the whole to reading it in the first place. I think it came out like 2 or 3 years ago, to be honest, but I'm not hearing enough people talk about it, so I'm putting it out there again. Go ahead and read Red X immediately. So that was a favorite lit fic for me. And then another one, which I've already spoken about, was Portal Mania. I think, again, that one has been really great. It came out this year, and I've not seen enough people talking about it. And I think it's because the cover does not make you think that it is as heartbreaking or frustrating or aggressive or weird as it is. I think the synopsis kind of holds back a little bit. Even though it talks about things, it doesn't talk about it in very much depth because a lot of this is left up to interpretation. And it's hard to even explain what all makes up this book because it is a collection of short stories that all happen in the same universe that have to do with new types of people and genomes and coming up within society, political campaigns coming up, portals being found everywhere, these struggles in regards to a mother and her autistic son, queerness and learning about your queerness later on in life and how the people in your life deal with that, being Gen X and coming to terms with your queerness at a later in life date, families and parents not wanting their children to change from the ideas that they had them as, marital abuse, like these things are coming up in there. It trigger warnings out the wazoo. But it also is just amazing, and it talks about these things very, I think, smart and in a way that doesn't feel like trauma. Just, oh, I'm gonna give you trauma just to give you trauma. I really do appreciate that, and I think that is very interesting. And again, when I picked it up, I don't think that I realized how queer it was gonna be, which was perfect that I was reading it during June, but it was amazing, and it is still one of the top books of this year for sure. Favorite video is the final question of of this tag. I'm gonna sit here and I'm not gonna say necessarily a book recommendation video, but my vlogs. I've and I know they don't get as many watch hours as like my Halloween videos or even my book recommendation videos because I think that it's kind of lives in this liminal space. I started like really showing a focus for this summer and near the beginning of the summer, like the end of spring, putting a focus on experiencing community more, experiencing events more than just I collect and I love Halloween and I read. I want to experience those things outside of my door more and more. And these vlogs that I've been putting out have been kind of these timestamps of those experiences, and I love looking back at them, kind of like their diary entries. And I love also some of the fun of editing them, to be honest. It's one thing to edit me sitting here and being a talking head and talking all about books or, Halloween finds or anything like that. It's another to sit there and go, okay, I'm out and about. We're filming. We have to put these things together. Let's put some fun music. Let's do a voiceover. It's been so much fun to do them. The Summerween videos that I've been doing, the Summerween bucket list videos, more of those are coming and I'm having a great time doing them. So right now, my favorite videos are my vlogs. I've been having a really fun time doing them, and I'm really excited to kind of have video of me out and about more than just in my house. I'm hoping that y'all will end up loving them more too, or just checking them out a little bit more because I know that that's new to the channel. So those have been my favorite videos so far. This is an addendum to the original tag that I saw Book in Hand do, which love her videos. Go check her out. I love her recommendations and her reviews so much. But I really like this kind of addendum because, again, if you're starting to read so much, you kind of have your favorites for each month. And even having like a best book of 2025, while I said Chain Gang All Stars, as I just went through this entire video kind of explaining, there was far more than just Chain Gang All Stars that made an impact on me this year. So she went month by month and said what her favorite book was for each month. So here is that moment. January, Chain Gang All Stars. By far, started off the year very strong. Absolutely loved it. Can't say enough about it. February, Devil and Silver by Victor Laval. That one was amazing. Again, it was kind of a litmus test that I compared Chain Gang All Stars to it, but in a way, it felt the same. But in this conversation of mental health and hospitals and what the mental health industry is doing to people and how people are moving through it, how they're not moving through it, what's hurting them in it. It's still an amazing novel, and I absolutely love it. I talk about it all the time and tell people about it because I don't think it gets as much love as Lone Woman does or The Changeling. Like I don't feel enough people recommend this book. March, I couldn't really pick only one because both of these are so impactful for me, and that's Reservoir Bitches and The Eyes Are the Best Part. They were both impactful for two different reasons. But one spoke more so in regards to culture and learning so much and about being femme in Mexico and experiencing the death, the heartbreak, the survival in such a raw way, which was just beautiful. But also, The Eyes Are the Best Part explained and talked so much about generational misogyny and toxic masculinity that was so relevant to like my life and what I'm experiencing right now with family and everything that I had to have both. So those are my two favorites for March. April, Dungeon Crawler Carl. That was the best book that I read all of April. To be honest, I think that April was kind of low-key a slumpy month. Like I read some good things, but nothing because I read Dungeon Crawler Carl and that knocked out the park. Nothing else was beating it. May, the Dead Take the A Train was my favorite book for May. I love that book. I read a lot of good things in May, but that one was just so much fun. And like I said, I just absolutely loved it. Cassandra Call wrote those characters so amazing. And I want a series out of that book because it was so visual. I could see it. And then last month, I talked a lot about these two already, but they really were amazing. Barrier Gay should probably be here as well, to be honest. I read so many good books last month, but it was Red X, Barrier Gaze, and Portal Mania. All of those were 5 stars. I gave them all 5 stars, and they were so good. I couldn't pick just one book out of that lineup because I loved each one of them for different reasons. They were very different books. I'm hoping that July has some really good ones. There is a lot that should be read during this month since I'm a part of the readathon, and there's cards constantly being pulled for us as a team as well as just on my own. I've already finished one book this month. It's been a very great book. I loved reading it. It was Megan Giddings. We'll see what the rest of the month gives. To end this long video already, I have a couple of things that are just for my Q2 recap and just are wrapping up some comparisons to what my Q1 was like and what I'm looking at for the year. First and foremost, Q2, I read 19 books. That's amazing because that's versus the 17 I read in Q1. So again, I'm moving up. We'll see what what Q3 gives, especially being a part of this readathon. I don't know. I may end up reading far more this upcoming Q3 just because of the month we're in right now. So we will see. My average rating was a 3.7, which was pretty normal. My yearly average so far is a 3.8, and last month was a 3.8. So I average around the same, mainly because I'm usually giving 3 4s and as of late a lot of 5s, to be honest. But I don't really have a lot of books where I'm like hated this absolutely. I end up DNFing it. So that's probably I should probably see about adding those DNFs like their 1 stars and seeing if that will probably change my rating entirely, to be honest. So, well, that'll be interesting to see what that is. Favorites and hates of Q2. So, I've already talked about them. Let's go through them very quickly. My faves have been Bury Your Gaze, Dungeon Crawler Carl, The Dead Take the A Train, Red X, and Portal Mania. Those have been my tops so far of Q2. Like, let's be clear, this is not just a full year. My hates of Q2 have been Trinity, 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 and Come Closer. Both of those sucked. Should have never even read them. And finally, a video reflection, which I did last Q1, and I really appreciate doing that because it kind of shows a little bit of a marker of what the content that I'm giving y'all is. I am really, really happy, all things considered, with how much content I've been putting out, to be honest. And this is something that I've been wanting to do for a while. I don't feel overworked somehow putting out all this content. I think I finally have found a flow. And I think I mentioned this slightly in my Q1 video as well. I think that I've furthered that content. Now, for my patrons, that is the next step. Is I have to figure out how to put that flow in for the things that I need to be giving y'all as far as exclusive. I know that I started doing the monthly reading vlogs. I'm happy with those and I want to keep on giving them to you routinely, but I also want to add at least 1 or 2 bits more of content for y'all to really make it worth it. I know that I give y'all a physical reward every month and then but I want something more for those who don't have the physical reward tier and are just there for the lowest tier or the free tier. Like, I still want to provide something to you all. So that, I think, going into Q3 is something that I really want to focus on now that I've kind of gotten to this point of like feeling comfortable with the videos and how much I'm kind of giving y'all and how I'm editing everything. Let's also talk about my lighting situation. That's new. That's new and I'm very proud of it. You are currently seeing a lighting situation of 4 different lights. I no longer have just my spotlight on me. So is she getting blown out anymore? No. That's crazy. Why didn't nobody tell me when I first started that you're not supposed to get just like a ring light for these videos? That you actually should get a box light. So I got me a cheap little box light. That's what you're seeing now. So we've got a whole studio set up now. And now I've got colored lights behind me. You see those? Depth. She's giving depth. I've got a lens now. That's why you're seeing all of this. It's kind of got this type of fisheye situation going on here. Love that. We've got a mic. You can hear me. The sound has been clear. Tell me if the sound hasn't been clear. And because all of this lighting has been great and how I've been recording has been much like cleaner, I've been giving y'all reels like nonstop over on Instagram. When I used to hate doing reels, feeling like I had to put together something, it didn't look clean enough. I'm really happy with the content that I've been putting out lately. And the thing is I've not necessarily been working better. I've just been learning more about how to do this whole thing and maximize things. So proud of myself, to be honest with that. I really love it and I'm really interested by it. So for any of y'all who've been like, girl, the lighting in that last video was real cute. Thank you. Thank you. Your girl invested in some lighting fixtures. I'm very proud of myself regarding that. But I am excited for Q3. One, because as you guys have noticed, Halloween is popping up so much more around here because it's in the stores and it's out and about. Now, if you start seeing some Halloween hunting videos around here, which you will, y'all, I'm going to have book videos. If you're here for just the books, don't worry. Just, if you're not into Halloween, just don't watch those. I'm still going to give you book reviews. I'm still going to give you book recommendation videos. Actually, I have 2 book recommendation videos coming on later on this month. Don't worry. I've got y'all. I'm not leaving the booktube. I'm just simply diversifying. All right. This is creative life. This is creative living. So those are coming around here, and I'm going to be vlogging more and all of that. It's just going to be a bit more well-rounded, which I always wanted this channel to be, but I didn't really know how to do that or how to edit or how to get all of that out as quickly as possible and at the level that I wanted. So I'm very excited, and I'm really happy with what I've just been doing lately. That's why I left that video reflection in. I love kind of ending the video on that note. It's very, very positive. I feel really great about it. And you know, overall reflection, I am excited for the end of this year in regards to my reading. Because I just feel like I've hit a stride, and after 3 years of really getting into reading again and learning what I like, I feel like I'm in a great space right now. And the books that I'm reading have been great. I mean, even though I've had some DNFs, overall, I've been really cool with them because I think part of me is like, okay, so you don't like that. Because you've now DNF'd 2 of those now, or you've DNF'd 3 of those, or you keep on trying something and it's just not working as far as an author is concerned. And I like that. I think that the getting rid of the fear that your numbers aren't gonna be high enough or you're not gonna reach your goal by the end of the year and not DNFing is actually keeping people from hitting their goals, because you're slugging through a book that you don't like, and you keep on picking up books you don't like because you're not sitting there and addressing the fact that you don't like these books. Crazy. That's insane. Why did nobody tell us this? I hope that y'all loved today's video. I know it was a long one because I've been putting out shorter videos. This one is very, very long, but it was a mid-year wrap up. What did you think that it was gonna be? Short? 20 minutes? Not with me. So I hope you liked today's video. Please subscribe down below if you liked any of the books that I mentioned today. We are reading that type of literature around here 24/7. Horror, lit fic, weird girl, lit fic, sci-fi, dystopian, what speculative all around. That's what we're reading around here. And like I said, I've got some book rec videos coming up soon. Please subscribe down below if any of that sounds good to you. And like this video if you liked it. I will see you on the next one. Bye.